Good afternoon, everyone. Our group focuses on the English varieties of Nigerian English and Indonesian English. As you can see, these two English varieties come from two different channels of English spread, settler colonization and globalization. Our content are divided into 6 parts. Okay, we will begin with the first part, history background. The historical development of English in Nigeria can be divided into 3 periods. The first period is the pre-colonial period, and the first important time is in 1553. English merchants first arrived in Nigeria for paper trade, and during 16th to 18th centuries, the two key words we should highlight were the transatlantic slave trade and the Christian missionary activities. The second period is the British colonial period. In 1914, the creation of Nigeria increases the need for English as lingua franca. Then let's move on to post-colonial period. In October 1960, Nigeria becomes independent but retains English as its official language. In terms of the history of Indonesian English, during Dutch colonial period, the Dutch recognized the international importance of English taught to non-European elite in Dutch medium secondary schools. And the most important timing is 1945. Indonesia becomes independent, and new government viewed English as a key tool for international communication. And for the last important 10 years, from 1956 to 1964, the United States played a key role in Indonesia's development aid. And for the history of Indonesian English, the most important keyword is globalization. Therefore, during 2000s, globalization has elevated the status of English, leading to its more widespread use. The second part is the usage scenarios. The Nigerian English can be used in many different scenarios. For example, for government and governance, it can be used for legislation, administration, and policy. For legal system, it can be used for court proceedings, legal defense, and legal documents, especially in mass media. The English as the main language for national newspapers, radio, and television programs, but the most special context it must be intercultural communication. Because Nigeria is a multi-ethnic country with numerous languages, English has gradually become the lingua franca for communication among different ethnic groups. Compared with Nigerian English, Indonesian English is used in largely similar contexts, but there are also some differences, especially in a context of social interaction among teenagers, because the use of English has become a popular trend among teenagers' social interactions, and English is mainly used for daily communication and social media interaction among teenagers. That's all about my part. My partner will introduce the last part.
Okay, let's move on to the linguistic features. The first one is phonological variation. There are 3 features. The first one is consonant substitution. In Nigerian English, the consonant s will be pronounced as t, d, s, and in Indonesian English, the words vein and rush will be pronounced as fein and ras. The second is vowel pronunciation. In Nigerian English, the deep sound and the triple sounds will be monophthongized, like power will be pronounced as pava. And in Indonesia English, the deep sounds are monophthongized. There are several examples you can see from here. And the third one is intonation. In Nigerian English, it will often use unidirectional intonation, and the bidirectional intonation is rarely used. And they will use following intonation in declarative sentences, special questions, and imperative sentences, while using rising intonation in general questions. And in Indonesia English, the patterns are diverse and complex. So next is lexical variation. There are 2 features. The first one is localized lexicon. As you can see from here, in Nigerian English and Indonesia English, there are many vocabulary and lexicons which are the reflection of the native cultures. And second is language mix. There are some words and phrases which will be mixed with the native languages. And the next is grammatical and syntactic features. There are 3 features. The first one is plural nouns. In natural English, the non-count nouns will be used in the form of plural form, just like the informations in these sentences. And in Indonesian English, the plural markers are often omitted, like seen in this sentence. And the second is the use of tense. In Nigerian English, it will use be plus ing. The continuous marker is added to the verb here. And in Indonesia English, it often uses simple tense instead of complex tense, like start in this sentence. And other features like irregular affix. In Nigerian English, the affix able will be connected with the verb dance and here. And in Indonesia English, they often omitted articles and are unnecessary articles. There are two examples. My mother is housewife. I want to learn new things. And the next part is present status of the languages. The first one is Nigerian English. It has emerged as the second language in Nigeria and is recognized as the newly developed English variety. It's not only accepted within Nigerian society, but also comprehensible globally. The widespread acceptance of the language highlights the significance in social interactions and demonstrates the notable impact on local languages. And the next is the status of Indonesia English. The growing prevalence indicates that although it is still classified as a foreign language, which can be reflected in the challenges Indonesians face in mastering English, such as vocabulary, pronunciation, and sentence structure, the status is still rising. English begins to take on the roles of a second language and a media of instruction, especially within international schools. English is utilized as the instructional language for a range of subjects. And the following part will be introduced by my partner.
So let's move on to social attitudes. The first one is Nigeria. Although English isn't officially stated in the constitution, it dominates administration, law, and higher education. Intellectuals like Walsall defend English as a way to contact beyond the local boundaries. It's also seen as a modern global tool by elites. But on the streets, there's a different picture. Nigerian pidgin has become a strong symbol of local identity. It's widely used in Afrobeat music and Nollywood films. For example, songs like Calm Down, One Dance by Drake, or Water Something Else. Still, some language purists worry about the loss of indigenous language like Yoruba and Hausa. In Indonesia, English is promoted mainly for economic reasons, especially in tourism and IT. The government's English 2007 policy supports this. Young people link English skills with job success, but education tends to focus on exam, not real communication. At the same time, some scholars are concerned that English is Westerning Bahasa Indonesia, replacing words like rapid with meeting. So next is a function comparison. And here is a comparison. Nigeria's English came through colonialism, while Indonesia adopted it under globalization. In Nigeria, English works as both a unifying tool and a platform for cultural expression. In contrast, Indonesia uses English more narrowly, mainly for work and tourism. And Nigeria has developed a diglossic system. Formal English and Nigerian pidgin coexist. But in Indonesia, English hasn't developed into stable local variety. It really depends on individual exposure and education. So next. So what can we learn? English varieties reflect local history, policy, and identity. In both countries, people see English as useful, but it also creates tension. In Nigeria, it's unity versus cultural loss. In Indonesia, it's progress versus cultural erosion. So as we can see, language variation is a result of dynamic adaptation, and there's no hierarchy of superiority or inferiority. Whether it's Nigeria English or Indonesia English, both have emerged within specific historical, cultural, and social context. Most importantly, this shows us that global English is diverse. There's no single correct English. Each variety adapts to local needs. So we should respect these varieties not as broken English, but as valid, evolving forms of communication. So next is our reference. And that's all. Thank you for your listening.